Hi, it's Kylie Koo. Welcome to my studio. So, week 7 of Junk, Use It or Lose It. And before I get into the supplies that I'm going to be using for this week's project, I just wanted to give some shout outs again. And this is for the other YouTubers who are following along and doing some of these projects. So, this week we have ZC Creations, Crystal Dragonfly and Maggie Lockley, and again I'll leave links below to their videos. Now, before I get into today's, I went back to a previous video because I wanted to check a comment that I knew was on one of them, and I discovered that there were a few more comments that I hadn't replied to. I don't know why that is. I'm obviously not getting notified of all the comments, but please know that if you've left a comment for me and I haven't replied, it's simply because I haven't seen it. So if you get a reply 3 or 4 weeks after the event, then please know it's because I've just come across it. I do appreciate all your comments, and I don't just answer some and not others. I certainly try my best to answer them all. So if I've missed replying to anybody, please know it's simply because I've not seen it, and I will try and seek those out and deal with them. So anyway, the comment that I'd gone back to find was from the lovely Susan, and it was the week that I did the cardboard tube journals. And Susan asked me if I thought the tubes could be used as tags, and I said yes, absolutely, great idea. And then she came back and she said, kind of, what ideas do you have for using them? So I said I'd have a think about it and do a video. And I'd actually planned to do that before now, but I was about to start this week's project, and then I thought, no, I'm going to do these tags. And usually I just sit down and do the project, have a think about it, sit down, do it. I don't practice it, but this week I decided I would give it a practice. So I'll let you see in a second the actual tags that I made yesterday. So this week's supplies: toilet roll tubes, flattened, and I'm going to do 3 different styles of tags, so you'll need 3. I noticed this one's a bit smaller, I must have changed brand, but there we go. So 3 of these. I'm using acrylic paint, not absolutely essential, but I think it's quite helpful, and doesn't matter what colour, I'm just going to use this one today. Something to cut with, some glue, and I'm going to use sticky tape and a tacky glue. I've just got that sitting upside down because it's getting quite difficult to get it out. If you've got one, a hole punch, but not essential. If you don't have a hole punch, then just something that you can draw a circle around. This is just a glue and obviously a pencil. Did I say a punch, a hole punch? A hole punch anyway. If you like to be precise about measurements, then a ruler. And for decorating, anything that you have. You could paint, you could use pieces of papers, you could use jelly prints, some ribbon, some raffia, anything of that sort. So really, again, just using whatever you have in your supplies. So I'll put this to the side. I'll show you the 3 tags that I'm going to make today, but the ones that I did yesterday as an example. So here are the 3 styles of tags that I'm going to be making. So the first one I'm just calling a plain tag, and I've just basically a rectangle. I've decorated it with washes and some pieces of paper. You can use whatever you want. And this was just within a piece of packaging, I think, tying something up. So I've just used that for in here. And just a little bit of decoration on the back. You could obviously keep these plain or decorate to your heart's content. So that's the plain tag. The second one I've made, I'm calling it the library ticket tag, because I've made the little opening up here that you can then put something in. So a bit like one of those things you used to get in the books, and you put your library ticket into it. I've left that one plain on the back, but that was simply because I ran out of time yesterday. But I've also in this one created a little pocket on the front here. So that just gives an extra pocket. and just some decoration. And the third one I'm calling my secret pocket tag, and that's because in this one I've actually got several pockets. So I've got a main pocket in here, which, depending on the way you decorate it, you wouldn't know that the pocket was there, which is why I've called it my secret pocket tag. So I've got a pocket there, but I've also added another little pocket here. And then on the back I've decorated it with this paper and this bit of washi, but I've also made this a pocket. So you can see that from this one thing there are actually 3 pockets on it. And again, I've just decorated and used some pieces of papers I had lying around and some washi tape. So those are the 3 I'm going to be making today. So let's get started. So to begin with, you want to flatten out your cardboard tubes. These 2 have been sitting flat for a while. I did notice, and I think it was one of the comments that I had not replied to, I just saw it this morning and I will be replying to it later, but somebody had said that they'd had difficulty actually getting these flat. I mean, the easiest way is to fold them flat right away and leave them until you need them. But what she said was that what she did was she just dampened them a little, and that made them, I guess, a bit more pliable and then easy to fold over. So that's the way to do it. So I am now going to open these up, and I'm actually going to use a knife to open them. You could just cut them, but I'm going to take a knife from the kitchen and just slice along them. Okay. So this one I've done already because I actually did that yesterday. But all I'm doing is, oh, I've done that one too. There we go. So this one I haven't because I only folded this morning. Sorry, it's difficult to show this fully on screen. There we go. So as easy as that. And all I'll do is I'll take my scissors, and just where there's any little rough edges like that, I'll just snip them off just now, but you know, those can be tidied up later as well. That's actually come off not too badly. So the next step is to paint these. Now this step is actually optional because you would get away without painting them, but it just means that where there's openings, if you've painted the inside as well, you don't see the cardboard. So all I'm going to do is on the inside, I'm going to paint around all the edges. With one of them, that is the tag that's going to be the plain tag, I will only do that and I don't need to paint anything else on it. With the other 2, I will paint around the edges, but I will also paint to around halfway down on each. So I'll do that now, and that will hopefully be a bit clearer as I do it. Okay, so that's those. I'll just, I'll give them a quick dry with the heat gun, but otherwise you could just set them off to the side to dry. Next thing will be to paint the outsides. Now obviously you could be doing these all different colours. I'm just using the one colour today just to make it that bit easier and rather than chopping and changing. So I'll dry these and then I'll do the other side. Okay, so I've got my 3 done on both sides now. This was slightly thinner paint than I used yesterday, so you know, if you were using this as your main colour, if you weren't adding anything else to it, you might want to put a second coat on if your paint's thin, but that's fine. This one has a slight piece sticking up. I could snip that off, but as this is the one that I'm going to use as the plain tag, that will get glued in anyway, so I'm not too concerned about that. Now, with the two that's left, what I want to do with one is the way that I fold it over to make the library card tag. All I'm going to do is take a small piece off here. So, you know, something like, I don't know, 1/4 inch, a few millimetres, that's all really. So, you know, if you want to be precise, you could measure it. So I'll just measure it as 1/4 inch. And you're only doing that on one side. So the side that's going to be the front is the one that you want to measure it on. So let's say 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Draw my line. Actually, I'm just going to measure yesterday's. I didn't actually measure yesterday's. Slightly bigger. I'm going to make it slightly bigger. 3/4 is too big, so I'm going to go for 3/8 of an inch, which is around a centimetre. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is to cut along this line. And then once I've reached the centre, I'm then just going to cut down here till it meets. Like so. Now, there are a couple of things you can do at this stage. You can round the corners if you want. So, for example, on this outside edge, you can just, or if you had a corner punch, you could use that. Obviously, a corner punch will make it more uniform. So you can do that. You could also do it to this front piece. You could draw around something if you wanted to be more precise. Take something round, just put it on there, draw around the edge and then follow the line. But since these are just small cuts I'm making, I'm not too concerned. That will do it. Then, if you have a hole punch, what we then want to do is to cut a kind of half piece out of this. So I'm going to put it so far in and roughly get in the middle that way, so far in, and then I'm just going to, now if I didn't have the hole punched, then, and the way I did it yesterday was I just took the top of my glue and I just drew around that and then cut it out. So because I've cut into the cardboard, these edges will be a little bit bare, so all I'm going to do is take my paintbrush and just go around those edges. And this is something you can do once the tags are fully made anyway. It doesn't have to be done now, just do it while I remember. So that's that one. I set that off for those little bits to dry. So for what I'm calling the secret pocket tag, it's the same kind of principle, except this time I'm going to go further down, and where you go really is up to you. This one I think I went just slightly less than half. So, yep, that's all I'm going to do this time. So I'm going to go down, 2 inches. And 2 inches is 5 centimetres. Again, just draw my line. And what I'm going to do this time is cut along the line, but I'm not cutting this section out, so I'm just cutting along to here and then leaving it. So again with this, if you had a corner punch, you could cut them off, or you could make it more the luggage tag shape by cutting here. Really, it's up to yourself. But all I'm going to do with this one is, again, where I've made the cut line, is just to rub my paintbrush along there. And I'll do the same with this side, because this will be staying in place. And there. And I'm going to put that one off to the side just to dry that little bit. So I'm going to come back to my plain tag, and I'm going to start by gluing this down and into place. So I'm going to tidy up this a bit because the glue will stick to this and maybe start to pick some of that up. Okay, so I'm really working on all 3 tags simultaneously. I'm not kind of doing one and then finishing it completely and going on to the other. I'm trying to just work on them all at the same time, so I'm doing the same stage on each, if you know what I mean. So I'm taking the one that's a plain tag, so this doesn't have any cuts in it at all. And what I'm going to do with this is to take my sticky tape and place it all the way around here and a couple of pieces in here, and then I'm going to add my glue just for extra adhesion, and then I'm literally going to just stick this together tight. So I'll probably put this bit on fast just so you can see it, but I will leave it in so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And at this stage, what you want to do is to take a bone folder or the back of a pair of scissors and go down and over this really as hard as you can. Now you need to watch because some of the paint can come off at this stage, so you could do it under something to help try and protect it. I'm going to wipe that with a baby wipe. I don't mind little bits of glue going on the tag, but I don't want it too sticky on the outside. So again, just pressing. And making sure those edges are well sealed. And paying particular attention to that end as well. Okay, so I'll just take any glue that might be sticking to the outside. You'll see that in places little bits of the paint comes off. That's not to worry about that, that can be touched up. But that one will now go off to the side to dry. I'm just going to squish down that edge a bit more just to make certain. Okay. So the next one I'm going to work on is the library ticket tag, and with this one I want it really as a kind of pouch. So what I'm going to do is simply to stick down this edge and this edge. So really it'll be along here and along here, so that most of this remains as a tag. So same principles as before, just some sticky tape and then just a little bit of glue. I don't want too much going in the way, but I just want to make sure that it is fully stuck down. So that's that one done. You really do need to apply quite a bit of force just to make sure that those edges get as tight together as they possibly can, because if you don't get it right off, then you're going to have to re-glue them. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. So now we'll come to the secret tag one, and I'm going to do this in two ways. So to begin with, I'm going to take the top piece. Now I always keep the opening to my right hand side. It doesn't matter, it's just this way it helps me remember which bit's which. So what I'm going to do, bottom bit I'm leaving just now, but what I'm going to do is to glue this top bit securely. So in the way that I did the very first tag, I'm going to glue this whole top bit down. So I will place tape along here, here and here, so that this whole thing then comes over and sticks firmly here. So I'll do that with tape and glue. So that's that bit well and truly sealed. Oh, excuse me, I seem to have a bit of a tickle today. So that's the top bit, and that stays firmly in place. I didn't put too much glue towards that centre piece because I didn't want it coming down and potentially sticking that piece down. But what I now want to do is to stick down the secret pocket, and what I'll do with this is to use the tape and the glue down here and here. So it will close, this piece will be glued, this piece will be glued, but this piece will be open. So again, same process. And that's the third one with the secret pocket. So we now have the basic structures really for the three different tags, and from here on in it's really just about decorating them. Now any little rough edges you can take off at this stage if you still see any. You can shape the corners if you want to shape the corners, you know, and just tidy them up before you decide how you're going to actually decorate them. If there's any little chips of paint, such as there, you know, you could touch them up, or it may be that you're going to cover them with something else. So, I think, right, what am I thinking? I'm going to go back to the plain one, and I think with this one I'll make it more like a luggage tag. So I'm going to cut these corners off. Now, a quick way to cut the corners, you know, you can measure it out and get very accurate. One quick way is just to simply decide on here what kind of shape you want it. Let's just go with this. I'm not measuring. So there's the piece I've cut off. If I now flip that directly over and lay it there, what I'll then do is to simply cut along that line. So that's come from there like that. I flip it, put it to here, and that should then give me the exact same size and angles as I've done there. And there we go. And all I'll do now is I'll put a hole in this. And again, you can measure this out if you want, but I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'll put my punch in. It's about here, I think. And there we go. Now again, you could round the corners if you wanted here, you can leave it like that, but that one, other than finishing off those little edges, is really now just ready for decorating. With this one, again, it's the same. You could round the edges if you wanted. I'd already done those bits, but I think with this one I'm just going to put a hole in. Again, just eyeballing it. And then much the same with this one. Now I think with this one I'm going to try and round the corners. I'll see if my corner punch will work. It might be a bit thick. I think this could be the old one that I'd already broken. We'll give it a go, see how we get on. Yeah, so it's done it partly. I'll just cut it like that. That's not bad. As I say, this is the one that I broke before because I tried to do too much at once in it, so I don't want to use the new one in case I break it too. The 2 layers of cardboard like that is really just too much for it. That's okay though. I can live with that. We'll try the bottom. That one's harder. That one and that one. Sorry if you hear me groaning. And again, we'll put a hole in this one. So there we have the 3 basic shapes of the tags. The plain, the library card pocket, and the secret tag, secret pocket tag. So I think all I'll do now is start to decorate them. And that you can do in any way you want. You could take paint, you could take washi, you can make more pockets. I'll do that. I quite like the idea of more pockets on here. So I'm just going to have a bit of fun. So I'll probably put this on fast forward, let you watch how I finish these off, and I'll come back and chat to you once I've finished that. I'm going to round these edges. I'm looking at them and thinking, no, I don't like the look of that. I do like to round edges. It's just a personal thing. I think it's just personal preference. Yeah, see, that's nice. No, why not? Do it with this one as well. I like that colour, cerulean blue. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've never known how you pronounce that, but it's nice. Nice bright colour. Right, tidy this off and then I'm just going to start decorating. So see you on the other side of that. Okay, so there we have it. I mean, I think aside from the enjoyment of making these, you know, the basic structure, there's really hours of fun to be had just decorating them, and there's just so much you can do. So I've stopped at this point, but, you know, I think I will want to do a bit more. But here was the plain tag. So I've put 2 pockets onto this one. So one in here and one in here, and obviously you could decorate the back more, and I may go on to do that at some point. So just very basic decoration, using up bits and pieces of papers that I had left over. This is the library ticket tag, so again, you know, scope to put things in here. I've also made a pocket here, and indeed a little kind of pocket type tuck spot type thing on the back there. And again, you know, could go on and do more decoration. And here's the one that I'm calling the secret pocket tag. So in fact it's got 2 pockets. This is the main one that we'd cut into the main kind of structure, you know. There's a second one that's been added on. And again on the back I've left quite a big pocket with this one. So there we go. So Susan, I hope that gives you some ideas as to how to use the cardboard tubes for tags, and everyone else, you know, I hope, as always, this is a project that you've enjoyed, and I hope you'll give it a go. Really quite straightforward to make. As tags, I think they're going to be really quite heavy duty. You know, some of the kind of luggage tags you buy are quite thin. These, I think, are going to be quite sturdy, and as I say, lots more decoration that I could actually do on them, and lots of fun. And these would make super, I've got glue sticking all over me, these would make super little gifts, I think, super little Happy Mail things too. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please give it the thumbs up, and that's week 7, so I'll be back for week 8, and as always, other videos in between. So thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.